you know there is an entire continent where dogs are banned? Sure, dogs aren't allowed in some restaurants, hospitals, or even on public transport, I get it. But an entire continent? That feels a bit excessive, don't you think? But it's true. Since 1994, dogs have been completely banned from Antarctica. I'll get to the reason in a minute, but first, why am I even making this video? I was actually researching something else entirely when I stumbled across a paper analyzing an over 100-year-old Spratt's dog cake found in Antarctica in one of the old expedition huts. A long story short, the dog food industry as we know it today started in 1860 with Spratt's meat-fibrine dog cakes. James Spratt was a lighting rod dealer and manufacturer who lived in the US but often traveled to the UK. And on one such journey, he saw sailors feeding hardtack, also known as smaller breakers, or simply put, very hard crackers to scavenging dogs at the docks. These sailors' biscuits were made from cheapest, longest-lasting ingredients available like flour, water, and a little bit of salt. They were then baked rock hard and could last up to 50 years. Crazy, right? But that's where the idea was born and where the pet food industry began. So, what was in the paper that made me film this video? Well, for years, Spratt's recipe was kept secret. He only revealed that the cakes were made from mixed grains, vegetables like beetroot, and undisclosed meat byproducts. And they were actually quite expensive for what they were, which, by the way, is still the case with most kibble made today. But one ad from 1876 listed the price as 22 shillings per hundredweight, which today would be around £3 per kilogram. That might not sound like much, but to put it into a context, a skilled worker in 1876 earned about £1.50 per week, so roughly £210 per week in today's money. So a single kilogram of Spratt's dog food would cost more than 1% of a week's wages, making it a premium product, likely affordable only to middle and upper class households. And Spratt understood that very well. His marketing targeted upper-class dog owners, particularly those attending dog shows and sporting events. His ads claimed that the product would fulfill a dog's nutritional needs better than commonly fed table scraps. But were they actually better? And more importantly, were they enough to fuel sled dogs through the brutal Antarctic conditions? Well, not even close. The analysis revealed that Spratt's dog cakes were high in fiber and plant matter, with some bones detected, but severely lacking in fat and protein, so the nutrients expedition dogs needed to survive the cold and carry out physically demanding work. The biscuits might have been fine for a dog lounging by the fireplace in Victorian London, but for a husky dragging a sledge across a glacier, not so much. The paper's lead author, Dr. Jill Haley, said, "Our analysis of a partially crumbled Spratt's dog cake, one of 4 carried by Canterbury Museum, found that the contents of the cakes weren't that different to modern dog biscuits. However, the quantity dogs were fed on the expeditions didn't provide enough fuel for their high-energy activities." And underfeeding was a known issue. Many expedition logs mention dogs losing weight, becoming lethargic, and in some tragic cases, being killed for meat when supplies ran low. So, how much were the Antarctic dogs fed? Or even better, how much should they have been fed? Dr. Craig Band, Associate Professor of Animal Science at Lincoln University, calculated that to meet the energy demands of modern sled dogs, the dogs on early Antarctic expeditions would have needed between 2.6 and 3.2 kilos of Spratt's dog cakes a day. Instead, they were giving around 500 grams a day. Can you imagine how hungry these dogs must have been? During Scott's Terra Nova expedition, which ran between 1910 and 1913, the dogs were reportedly given even less, at around 300 grams of Spratt's biscuits per day. They became so desperately hungry they were seen eating their own feces. They only began to recover when seal meat was added to their diet. No surprise there, right? Another common addition was pemmican, a mix of fat and protein with no carbs. The problem with pemmican was that around 30% of it was indigestible and could cause diarrhea, but it was still used because it was easy to transport. I have so much appreciation for those sled dogs. They were an absolutely essential part of the expedition teams. They hauled supplies, scouted routes, and in many cases kept the men alive, quite literally. Warmth, transport, companionship, they did it all. And these weren't pampered pets. They were tough, mostly huskies, mastiffs, or mixed Arctic breeds, shipped from places like Siberia and Canada, crammed into tiny holds on expedition ships bound for the ice. When they arrived, they lived in makeshift kennels built out of snow and ice, playfully called dogloos. Puppies were born there. Whole generations of dogs lived and worked in Antarctica. They even had their own graveyards. So, what happened to them? Why aren't there any dogs in Antarctica now? In 1994, dogs were officially banned from the continent, not because they were mistreated, but because of environmental concerns. There was growing fear that dogs, as non-native species, could spread diseases to Antarctic wildlife, especially seals. Canine distemper was a particular concern. So, the Madrid Protocol on Environmental Protection, which was a part of the Antarctic Treaty, made it official: no more dogs. And that's why today, no barks echo across the icy plains of Antarctica. The sled dogs are gone, their jobs replaced by snowmobiles and helicopters. I loved watching the videos and reading about their history whilst preparing for this video. So if you'd like to know more about the history of these unsung heroes, visit the Canterbury Museum's website. I'll link it in the show notes below. That's it from me. Thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe.